Welcome into the Gramlich and McLean podcast, presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and McLean. We are one day closer to college football season. And actually, Georgia Tech plays on August 29th. So they play next
We're 2
Friday,
days
which
closer. Oh my gosh.
is even closer. I know. So exciting. They, of course, open with Colorado, which is going to be a massive, massive game. We have Brent Key on today. He's fantastic. One of our favorite head coaches to talk to. So that is coming up. Lots of hype surrounding Georgia Tech. Mac, our dear friend, Josh Pate, who we had on the show, by the way, go look in our summer guest series. His ACC championship is Clemson versus Georgia Tech. The hype is there. What do you make of this hype?
Sign me up. Yeah, well, I thought that was awesome, that he's going out there on that. And why not? You feel confident? Say it with your chest, JP. Let's go. Let's go. He's got his boys on the bus he buses with now. I saw that. And
he's big time.
Yeah, why not? Why not make some noise with your Georgia Tech pick here? And I think at the end of the day, when you see what they have coming back, who they have coming back, specifically at the quarterback position and Haynes King, and just what you expect from that if he can stay healthy, but also Aaron Philo's really good right behind him. Like this,
we asked Coach about that, by the way.
Right, this is arguably the best
handling that.
Quarterback room in the ACC here, just because we know both guys and we've seen them and we've seen how they play and how they operate there, and that's fascinating to just see from a depth perspective and how they kind of handle that. But also Jamal Haynes, like excited to see him in his final year here. Just been a really good player. And then the addition of Eric Rivers on the offensive side of the ball, very, very excited about him and what we've heard from a lot of different people, players, coaches, and fans. So I think that's going to be tremendous and excited to see what this offense can look like. Obviously sign your offensive coordinator for a couple years, another big deal, is really, really good there. And then, in the transfer portal, you go get a couple of big guys. You go get a Clemson guy at defensive end, and A.J. Hoffler, that I think is going to be really good, be a starter and a key player there. But you've got, Kyle Eford back and the kind of heart and soul, and a lot of other guys back that have been on that defense. So just seeing them take a step. I know your Texas boys over there now, the new DC, going to call things out. And it's fun to hear kind of Coach Key's story about that and just how he got there.
About Blake Gideon, the new defensive coordinator. And, that's kind of the big question to me. I think this offense is going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
You've got so many weapons. Haynes King, Jamal Haynes, and Malik Rutherford, the receivers you brought in the transfer portal. You got Coach Key keeping a very close eye on that offensive line. Like, I think the offense is going to be really good. The defense is kind of the question mark, and specifically the pass defense. That was part of the issue last year. You bring in Blake Gideon, a guy who played safety, and that's kind of his specialty. So that's good news for Georgia Tech. Can the defense improve enough to get you to, if we're talking ACC championship, which I guess we are, then obviously the defense is going to have to take a big step. The win total is 7.5. This team did go 7-6 last year. They had some big wins. They also had some losses that were a little, head scratcher, and some of that had to do with injury.
Right.
I think that's think about like the Virginia Tech loss last year when they didn't have Haynes King. That's the big question. Can you protect Haynes King? Can you protect Jamal Haynes, who's a smaller guy?
Right.
And Coach Key talks about using rotation at running back to help him out. Can they stay healthy? That may be kind of a cliche thing to say, but that's really my question with Georgia Tech. Because if they do, Mac, the ceiling is really high.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that's the biggest thing. And you look at the schedule, being at Colorado first on a Friday night. That's a big deal. And it's really important. And
you're better than Colorado at this point.
100%.
It's just a matter of
100%.
You're going to Boulder, all the hype, all that, the elevation, blah, blah, blah. But you are the better team.
Yeah, you are. And you get a chance to show that just in a setting on a Friday night that nobody else is playing or not a lot of other teams are playing. And what an opportunity for them, what an opportunity for the league to just go out and really make a big statement as we continue to roll into the weekend. But, hosting Clemson for Clemson's first away game at home, week 3, the Huddle will be there. Can't wait to see that in person. It is a big deal there. And then, outside of that, very manageable ACC schedule. You look at Wake Forest, and you look at Virginia Tech in Atlanta, not too scared about that. At Duke, I think Duke's going to be a really good team. Syracuse, we'll see. At NC State, I think is tough. At BC, I'm not worried. Pittsburgh coming down, maybe a tough team there. And then Georgia, that you went to a billion overtimes with, in Athens, and you're playing that. I believe that's in
Yeah,
Mercedes-Benz in the Falcons Stadium there. So I love the schedule. I love the way it shakes out, and I think these guys can really make some noise, KG. I'm going over for sure.
I like the over for sure, Mac. I think this is one that, if you're looking at that, if you're a betting person, then maybe something you take a look at.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about this because this just happened earlier in the week where Coach Key, who, he,
I know what you're
he
about to say.
yeah, he's a smart guy. He knows when he says stuff to the media, how's it going to be taken,
Yeah.
whatever. And apparently Georgia Tech had a tough practice. It was really hot. It was like reached 115 degrees on the turf. It was terrible. That sounds awful. And he said, way too many penalties, way too many turnovers, way too many blown-ups. Like he was just going in on his team. And then he said, I don't care if we go into the first game with 2 offensive plays and 2 defensive calls. We're going to go out there and play what we can execute. Is this real? Like, is he trying to fire up
Yeah.
the guys? Like, I don't know if this ever happened to you, Mac,
Oh,
but I feel like it's something the players kind of roll their eyes at. What do you think?
yeah. Well, here's the deal. I would bet my bottom dollar it wasn't that bad. But I would say there was probably some mistakes. There were probably
Mhm.
some penalties or guys, MAs. It was probably the younger guys that aren't going to play. And he was just fired up and he wants to send a message, to his guys. And, or it was just a bad day. It was just hot. Whichever way you want to think about this happening, Georgia Tech's going to be ready. Georgia
Okay.
Tech's going to be in
You're
a
not
really
worried.
I'm not worried at all. They're a physical football team, and I do think there's a bit of chess here.
Yeah. Is he
That
playing mind games with Coach Prime? Like,
yeah,
what's going on?
they probably had the greatest practice of their lives, and he's like, "Oh, can't tell anybody about this. We sucked. We were terrible." But who knows? We could probably text him and ask him. But I think Georgia Tech will be ready. They'll be in a really good spot.
I don't know. I feel like we got into this off air with Coach Key, but before we get to our interview with Coach Key, Mac, can you use this episode to tell us about the steaks that you recently went to town on with
Yeah,
our good friends over at
I
Ingles?
can. I can. So
Because
you
Coach
guys
Key
will
loves the
see that.
grill.
Yeah, and you're right. This is a good point. I can't remember if this was on camera or off camera. But we start talking about the steaks that he made for his boys. It might be on camera. We'll see.
Yeah.
You guys
He
will
had
either
all the
see it or not.
seniors over and he was
Yeah,
grilling.
yeah, and it just the way he did it, reverse sear, big, thick ribeyes, Wagyu, I think, which is crazy. I'm not as rich
Coach
as
Key
him.
got money.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day. Probably not. But, so I've just been drooling about that since this episode was done, and so I finally went and did it. I bought 2 massive tomahawks. I mean, I'm talking about, like, this thick. It was the thickest steak I've ever cooked in my life, and we got 2 of them. And KG, they were the best steaks I've ever had in my
The
whole life.
best you've ever done.
Ever. I don't
Wow.
know how, I don't know why, but they
Wow.
were. And
You were just in your
shout out
bag
to
that day.
Ingles. Yeah, shout out to Ingles for hooking me up with those amazing, beautiful steaks. The like crust that I was able to get on there, unbelievable. The marbling, the temperature, it was perfect. So go look on Instagram. A matter of fact, we'll put some in the video as I'm talking. We'll have B-roll all
Let's
over
do
this.
it. Let's do it.
You guys
Get
can
people
see it.
hungry.
It was so good. So quickly, a friend or a message from our friends over at Ingles, and then we're going to get to the man, the myth, the legend, Coach Key.
Did you know that Ingles sells more organics than any other store? Or that they run their own dairy? Or that they only serve USDA choice and prime meat? Did you know that they have more local craft beer than any place else? Or that they have Energy Smart stores? Or that they professionally slice and package imported cheese from Europe? Did you know about their giant international aisle, local farm partnerships, curbside pickup, wine department? Or that they donate 3,956 meals a day to local food banks? Well, now you do. It's all in the bag. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Coach, great to see you, man. We just spent some really good time, and I'm sorry none of you will be able to listen to what was just said. It's off the record.
Secret.
It's top secret. But we are going to talk about punters, which who thought we would be doing that on this podcast? But I am excited.
They got to be special now for me to
That's
do
right.
it.
Well, when they are special, it's an absolute weapon. Coach, I think the best place to start here is really with your quarterback because Haynes King is just a freaky dude. And I've talked to people all around the country, and the respect this guy is starting to get more of. Like, I think it's still more he needs, but people are taking notice, and they're really saying that this is the grittiest dude, the hardworking guy, and he's back. And for an exclamation point, what have you seen from him? What are your expectations for your QB going into this year?
Well, it is the single most important position in all of sports. It is, and they're under the most scrutiny. They get the most glory when you do well. Really, probably either hand in hand or second to the head coach. There's everybody gets the praise when you win a game, right? But when you lose, they look at two people. And, there was a point last year we played Louisville, and he had a couple mistakes in the game. And after the game, we lost the game. After the game, me and him are standing on the field, shake hands, whatever. And I went and found him. I said, "All right, big boy, me and you, we're walking off this field together. So pick your chest up. All right, let's go eat it together." But that's the way I am with my Q. I mean, they go through a lot now, and when you go play at that place you played at, and they got those stats up on that board now, and they're seeing. I mean, they're looking at the Q, all right? They're looking at the head coach. So I understand that, and I respect that, and he's not riding in that alone. I'm gonna take the brunt of that, as much as I can from him, even though that's part of the position. But the kid, I mean, you can have all the buzzwords, grit, and toughness, and all those things. But at the end of the day, he's a winner. That's what he is to me, and he very much understands we got to win more, right? We have to put ourselves in a position to win more. It's hard to say he's an O lineman in a QB body, but I don't know if there's a lot of O linemen these days that have the built-in innate toughness.
Come on, I'm with you. I agree with you.
Mm.
If he was 6'5", 310 pounds, I mean, he'd be a top 5 pick.
That'd be interesting to see him throwing the football doing that at that size. That'd be impressive.
Hey, you want some Wildcat now?
That's right. Old Kentucky days, baby. Come on.
Yeah. Oh gosh, Jared Lorenzen.
Yeah.
But no, what I think of Haynes, everybody knows kind of what he went through last year, the injury, how he gritted his way through, came back, played. But I think if you're to ask him, the last 2 games he played, I mean, there were losses. He was not able to complete the mission. I was not able to complete the mission, right? And that eats at us. But the other players in that room are what have really driven him this offseason. I mean, I say it a lot. We have the best quarterback room in the country. And we really do. And I'm really excited about those guys. I'm excited about the competition that they had all through spring. I'm excited about the competition through the summer and what's going to continue to push and drive those guys throughout the preseason.
I'm glad you bring that up because most of the time, if you have a quarterback like Haynes King, we're not really going to ask you about your backup like that. We have a bunch of other schools that have starting quarterbacks coming back that we're not going to talk about it. But I had Aaron Philo written down to talk about him because we saw some serious spurts from him last year. So what has that been like, kind of managing the 2 guys, right? You talk about competition. Just tell us more about his offseason too.
Yeah. Again, he's had an outstanding offseason. It really starts about managing 2 guys. It starts with those 2 guys.
Yeah.
Right. If they don't have a relationship like they do, right, it's hard to make that work these days. Right. And I've, whether you call it a blessing or a curse, I've been through this a couple of times where there was 2 really talented quarterbacks and they drove each other and pushed each other and both became really good football players. And, I think the epitome of it all was, we're playing last year. You can't ever tell what's going to happen as the season goes on. And, we end up after the NC State game, Aaron had played in 4. So we're getting ready to play the other team over there. And it was, if he played in that game, he would have burned his red shirt. Well, he wanted a red shirt. He wanted to continue to develop and be here, but he understood he was going to do what was best for the football team. Well, to see the way Haynes went out there and played in that game, obviously to lay it on the line to win a football game, right? But at the same time, I mean, he's trying to help preserve his little brother's red shirt too. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that really is. And just the relationship that those 2 have. So I don't think any dollar figure in the world or anything you can say to anybody is going to be able to replace a true competitive relationship that 2 people have.
Mm-hmm. And that's fun to hear, right? And especially in a world where, Aaron could have gotten the portal and went anywhere and probably played at most places, but he decided to stay loyal. He decided that Georgia Tech was important to him and that development in the way that he sees it. And I think the relationship with Haynes that's a big deal. And it's fun to see that. And it's fun to see guys kind of holding on to that core. Now, I'm sure he was rewarded and was paid because you're allowed to do that now, but it's still cool to see. Going back to your QB for a second, and we can move on here. He is, again, tough, dynamic, such a big piece of this weapon. But how do you protect him? how do you protect him from himself? How do you protect him in the scheme? Because he is so dangerous with his legs, and you don't want to necessarily take that away. But what things, I guess, will you look to do this year? Or is it stuff that you did in the offseason, getting him a little bigger, a little stronger, whatever that was, to maybe manage the injury?
It's funny. I was talking to his daddy the other day. I called him about something, nothing related to football or Haynes or anything. His daddy's he's salt of the earth now. I mean, you want to know why Haynes is like he is? I mean, look at John. And he's an old East Texas, roughneck high school football coach that's had a great career as a high school coach. And I told him, I said, look, there's a reason why I have 7 scholarship running backs on this football team now. All right. And, the old number, everybody kind of carries 5 and, walk on or 2. I've got 7 scholarship running backs. Right. The way we play the game, the way we prepare, the way we practice. Right. And that's an injury position. We all know that. Well, last year we ran out of bodies at times. We really did. And we can't be in that position again. So, we've put 7 on scholarship. Really excited about, guys we've had transfer in, the development of the guys that are here, and then the freshmen we've had coming in. Or that are here. So that alone is going to help take some of the pressure off of Haynes. All right. When you have a dynamic running back room and, 5 guys that you can put in a game at any time and trust them to be in the game, that helps a lot. A lot of that last year. Yeah. The +1 run game it's an equalizer a lot of times. Right. But, a great running back is an equalizer too. A great O-line is an equalizer too. And that's what can take the pressure off of him. Because he's got to have some breather plays this year where he can hand the ball off and not have to think about the checks, the adjustments, the post-snap decisions, the brutality of running the football. Because he's not going to run the ball and step out of bounds. He's not.
Well, okay, and that probably relates to Jamal Haynes as well, because that was the other thing that I wanted to ask was kind of protecting him too. And so you've got 7 scholarship running backs. That's
well, now
maybe
we don't protect players.
Sure.
We don't protect guys. Okay, they work their tails off and build themselves up to be able to protect themselves by the way they play and the way they've built, worked in the office. So I want to make sure we say we don't protect.
Totally understand, but this does. I mean, a little bit more by committee, especially if you can do that in certain games, can keep Jamal Haynes from, dealing with injuries like he did as well.
Yeah.
So what have you seen from Jamal? Because just this idea that you guys return leading, obviously your quarterback, leading rusher, leading receiver, Malik Rutherford too. That's why people are excited about Georgia Tech. So just tell us more about what you want to see from Jamal.
So, a big thing in the offseason too, when you talk about the running backs we brought in, a big part of that was with conversations with Jamal being, hey, I've got to get you some help. We've got to get some more pieces in there. I want my best horse to be running his best race in the 4th quarter. Right. And Jamal will tell you, there was a lot of times last year and we were not where we need to be on the 3rd and 1, 4th and 1s last year. And you guys know, I love being in that situation. I love being in those 4th and goes. But we were not effective as we could have been there. And Jamal will tell you, he's not the guy to go hammer it up in there versus a big, 3 down front, 2 gapping, downhill backers and hammered up in there, and, consistently, 4, 5, 6 times a game in those go situations, right? Can we create different things? Yes, but look, I say it all the time. Don't give me a 3rd and 1 back. Give me a 3rd and 3 back, right? A guy can hand it off to, or he's got the ability to get in open space and catch a swing and whatnot. So, we've got some big backs in the program now too. We got guys that, and a part of that was who complements Jamal. His skill set is so unique. He runs so much bigger, all right? But there's only so much tread on the tire of a running back. So I'm understanding that, and having worked with so many different running backs in my career, all different shapes and sizes, that was a part of a commitment I made to Jamal to get other guys in here to help that, so that horse is running his race in the 4th quarter, and it's only going to end up being more productive for him.
It 100% is, because again, you talk about having those fresh legs, being full go for the whole season, and specifically in that 4th quarter when you may need him the most. That's the most important thing to have. So that's exciting and cool to see, and can't wait to see what that, kind of backfield is able to do this year. You're also loaded at the wide receiver position. And, I was looking at it, and obviously, you take a hit, a guy transfers, but then you go and get maybe a better guy, a guy that was an All-American in Rivers there that I think is going to be really fun. in this offense, and a couple other pieces come in. KG just mentioned you're bringing your guy back in Malik there. That unit, I have to think, gets you a little excited, right?
It does, because everybody looks at me and they're like, "Oh, you're just gonna, Key's just gonna run the football," and they're right. I mean, but running the football is how you create explosives in what we do. I mean, we're not an old school, play action under center deal, but everything is based off the run game, whether it's the add-ons, the RPOs, the play action shots. Buster does an unbelievable job of creating matchups. He so understands personnel and matchups within offense and defense. I think that's what separates him from a lot of the play callers in the country, is he does understand matchups and he understands touches. And, the way the game is now, the way college sports is, like, look, there's no love lost when a guy makes a business decision to leave. And it's not. And I think as externally as that starts to become the norm in our game, like, oh, they lost so-and-so. We don't hear that in the NFL. No, it was free agency. They made a decision to go somewhere else for a different deal. It was a better situation, right? So maybe somebody got a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1 based on the contract they would have had to give them that one. Had to give that one. So that'll take time in college football to people to understand it that way. But there's no love lost when somebody makes a business decision, right? I'm still gonna have a relationship with them. I mean, Jameer Gibbs sent me a signed jersey of his the other day.
He better send you a couple dollars too. He better send you that.
Well, but Jaw sends me a big, number 1 Georgia Tech jersey. My man Key, signed it, wrote a long thing to me, and that's cool. That's the cool part of the business now. And you understand it. That's not changing. So why are you going to complain about it? So how are you going to make it fit your organization? Well, you have to have a walkaway number, all right, that benefits your team. And when you're able to go get 3-for-1s and 2-for-1s, and it's true I mean, one of my favorite books I've ever read was Moneyball. And I bet I've read, I read it probably 15 years ago, and I picked it back up a year ago, and I bet I read it 3 times since. So
that tracks with where we are in college football. Okay, but okay, I think some people are wondering, though. I get your point. You got to have that walkaway number. Some guys are just going to leave. Like, it is what it is. But it seems at Georgia Tech, there's some sort of momentum, whether it's, obviously we got the rev share and you guys are able to pay guys what they're worth. You've got the commitment from the administration that, we want to really accelerate our football program. But you had so many guys stay too. Like, what is it about your relationship with these guys or about Georgia Tech where you have all this momentum in these guys that stay? Oh, it's you? It's all you?
My beautiful smile. not. So, that goes, there's several things, right? Yeah, money's one of them. And
right.
There's really, when I look at that, when you're looking at retaining players and the retention of your roster, there's 3 things involved, right? And not in any particular order. And every player weighs these out differently and has a different percentage on it. Okay. There's money. Okay. There's the brotherhood, bonds, relationships in the locker room, the culture of your team. And then the third one is your development for the NFL and ability to win championships. Those 3 things, right? Because once a guy's graduated or whatnot, I mean, they've got their degree, that's not the educational part of it is not as big as it is somebody coming out of high school. Well, we differ in that because that actually is something. So when a guy when someone's 35 hours away from graduating from Georgia Tech, I mean, that's strong. Like there's not a lot of guys who are going to throw that away, right? So that adds a little bonus for us that helps us. But when you look at those other 3 things, I mean, look, I stood in front of my team and said, I'm no different than y'all, and y'all are no different than me. I have an agent. Y'all have agents. I want you to have agents. All right. I'm going to make the best decision for me and my family. You have to make the best decision for you and your family. I have an agent that negotiated my contract, same as you. Like, there's no difference there. So to be transparent with the guys and let them know that you understand that, you're not just putting a barrier up and saying, you're stupid, you're leaving, don't you? No. Some guys are going to make a decision that's best for them and their families. Mm-hmm. All right. I'm hoping that it's here, and I'm hoping that I give the best combination of those 3 things of any other school.
Yeah. And it makes a lot of sense. And I think that piece that you said of, man, you're so close. Why not finish the deal? Why not stay and do that? That means a lot, especially at a university institution like Georgia Tech. Let's look at this O-line because, it's our favorite part. And I can't believe it's taken us 15 minutes to get to this. But you're replacing some starters, right? You guys were really, really good last year, and it was fun to watch. But this is how you've built your team, inside out. Mm-hmm. And I think guys are ready for their opportunities. Some young guys coming in. that you're really excited about? I know that, there's some guys on there that have been key leaders and really good players, but what do you expect from that first 5 that walks out there against Colorado?
If I was sitting here and like I could give you all the coach speak answers and all that, but I'm not going to do that. Look,
come on, that's what I like to hear.
The first 5 that tried out there, if they're the first 5 that tried out there at the end of the year, I'd be shocked. I mean, we've got a lot of really good players. We do. Me and Jeep were on the phone, an hour ago, talking about, practice depth, because in the springtime you want to build the versatility, and these guys play in a lot of places, but now it's go time. So you've got your primary position, you got your secondary position, and how those things work and who plays next to other. You might put a freshman in. Well, he needs that older guy next to him, right, to help calm the storm. And we've got some good ones. We've got some guys that have played a lot of football, but collectively they got to play together. Everything on the offensive line and really on this football team starts with Keelan Rutledge. Keelan Rutledge, I can't say enough things about that guy. I mean, Red is awesome. Just the leadership, he commands respect, how he motivates through old school ways, I'll say. But it starts with him. It does. We've got 2 guys that have not started games at center, Harrison and Tana, but they're both talented players. I think it's going to be a really, really good preseason competition with those 2. At right tackle, we've got guys that are, again, extremely talented. Jamison Riggs has had, from spring until now, just such development and growth. He was a really, a recruit we were really excited about year before last. It came down to us and another school kind of like northeast of us, about 110 miles. And that was one of the first real big recruiting wins that we had, since I've been the head coach, was Jamison. We went out and signed a really talented young man who I thought in the portal, as I evaluated all the offensive linemen in the portal, was at the top of the list for me. Malachi Carney, who we got out of South Alabama, and I liked him because of the versatility that I thought he brought. And I knew who coached me. I knew the guy. I'd worked together. We're good friends with the guy I'd coached in the last couple of years. So you got a little intimate knowledge when it's O-line to O-line coach. Really excited about him. Can play tackle and guard. Joe Fusel's been around, forever now, former walk-on, just kind of lunch pail guy. And then, the Peyton Josephs, the Kevin Pease, we were able to, keep Ben Galloway. All right, Ben hadn't played much football. Right, Ben is going into his 3rd year, though. And you talk about retention of players. When you can retain a 6'5", 320-pound guy that can play 4 positions, all right, they could go and start at a lot of places in this country. When you're able to retain an O-lineman that's been in your program and developed for 3 years, that is huge. That is huge. That's how you start to gain confidence in your program. And then the other side, you got Ethan McKinney, who people forget, as a true freshman, Ethan started 8 games at left tackle and was a freshman All-American. And then went through some personal things and some ups and downs as a sophomore. Kind of came out of it towards the end of the year. He's had an outstanding year up until now. And I tell people, hey, be careful what you wish for now. Everybody wants to come in and play as a true freshman on O-line. Sometimes it warps you and messes you up more than it does anything. And then with him, Josh Petty, who's a true freshman we brought in, just a super, super talented young man. He's up to 275 pounds now. And he's put 30 pounds on in the last, 7 months. And then we've got some other guys. We brought a transfer in, Will Reed from the Ivy Leagues, a senior kid who's played a lot of football. So the fun of coaching O-line is it's a microcosm of the whole team. Right? It's people from all different backgrounds, all different talents, to find the right places for them to play, and then getting those guys to gel prior to that first. I hate people saying, "Oh, it's the first game. It's time for them to start." No. You gel in your first scrimmage. You make corrections in the second. That first game should be like your 3rd or 4th game together if you're doing it right. So, and then you want versatility on the O-line. Like if your left guard goes down and your second team left guard is the 8th best O-lineman, you're not doing your team a service if you're not putting in your 6th best lineman. So that's why versatility is so important to me.
Coach, even you can make O-line play so interesting. Which for the average
What do you mean?
Joe,
So can you, KG, because it is
Joe,
interesting.
Maybe
Come on.
it's not the
What
most
are you talking
interesting
about?
thing. But with you, Coach, I'm locked in. Okay, I'm locked in. Now, I'm going to date myself here, and it kind of makes me feel old that Blake Gideon is now a defensive coordinator in college football because I grew up in Austin, Texas, and I remember him on those Colt McCoy
BT.
teams. Yes, and I remember him in,
Most people remember him from dropping the interception against Texas Tech.
Yeah, I remember that too. But we all know if Colt doesn't get hurt, Texas wins that natty, so it's fine. But anyway,
we were
so
talking
it's
about it
really,
yesterday, so I'm walking up.
I'm sure he agrees. It's exciting that he's risen this quickly in college football. So as your new defensive coordinator, obviously you guys were great against the run last year, but maybe secondary overhauling that a little bit. What was it about
Say
Blake?
it nice. You're just way too nice. Hey, look, we proved a lot up front. We were very good in the back end. We sucked. Okay.
I'm trying to be diplomatic. What was it about Blake?
Tackles. All right, and we had too many explosive plays given up on us. Okay, there you go, Kelly.
Yeah.
All right, KG, keep going.
Coach, you are our favorite. We love the honesty because a lot of coaches would, anyway. What makes you excited about Blake Gideon as the new DC?
Well, number one, he's I want players coaches. And a lot of people don't believe that with me because they see the tough, the hard nose, like all that. But you want to get players to play for you. And defense is different than offense. I mean, defense. I mean, you make your hay as a coordinator on defense and a play caller on that side of the ball. It's getting them to play with their hair on fire, right? Putting the right schemes in and make the right adjustments. Okay, so you mentioned we played better against the run last year, and we did. Right? I'd be hard pressed to find a better collection of defensive line coaches with Jess Simpson and Kyle Pope that I'm able to have right now. All right, of anywhere. I'm talking pro and college. I mean, these guys are outstanding. Jess is known everywhere in the country in our circles of line play as the guy. Kyle's been learning from. So I did not want to change the way we played our mechanics up front. All right, but I wanted to add some wrinkles to it to be able to be a little more multiple, not just sit there in the 4 down front, even though you get really good at it, Eric, like if you know what they're going to be every time, it's a little easier for us to get our hands in the dirt and our weight forward and come off the ball. Right. So I wanted to be more multiple, create a little more, disruption with things up front. But look, the way Jess coaches his techniques in a 4 down front, holy cow. I mean, they play blocks, they play with leverage. I wasn't changing that. All right, we played a little more man coverage than I probably wanted to last year. And then when we got in some situations where we had to play zone, when we had some players go down, we weren't as good at it. I.e., late in the third and fourth quarter in the last game of the year against those other people. We had to play a little zone. Well, then they became, 8, 10, 12-yard plays that we rallied to. So we weren't as good at it. So I wanted to be more multiple in the back end. I wanted to keep the front mechanics the same, continue to progress and grow there. All right. I like our linebacker group. And then I wanted to really change and alter some of the things we did on the back end, still be able to play the quarters and the man quarters techniques that we did. So he brought the element, and it was the perfect thing I was looking for. Spoke to so many people about him that he's worked with and worked for, and that that are mentors of his. And I'd say I've never had anybody speak as highly on someone as they had Blake. Right. And first night, Tyler told the staff on Saturday that he was leaving. I got on the phone with Blake that night at 11 o'clock. I think we got off the phone at 1:30 in the morning. And, funny thing about it, I said, well, Blake, I said, I'm going to go ahead and ask you the big question, the elephant in the room. I said, you hadn't been a play caller. I said, let's talk about it. He goes, I ain't scared. I heard you ain't scared, Key, are you? He said, let's go. And he said, you got any questions? Call Big John. I said, Big John. He goes,
who's Big John?
Big John. He goes, Big John King, Haynes' daddy.
That's cool.
Because he recruited his high school forever. All right. Blake's dad was a high school coach, and they knew each other. So it was crazy. And then he was on a plane the next morning and came in. And now we interviewed 2 other people. But when Blake came in and we put him through the ringer, and he interviewed from 7:30 in the morning. I think I finished up with him at my house at about 11:30 that night.
Wow.
Nonstop. And just the presence, the confidence, comfortable in his own skin. It was what we needed. It was the right fit.
Mm-hmm.
And then, kept the front guys the same. And then we brought in Darius Eubanks to coach our linebackers. And that's kind of what brings it together, right? When you got a back end guy. And I wanted a coordinator that was back end driven, to see it from that perspective, to help create more turnovers, eliminate some of the explosives that we gave up last year, KG,
Mm-hmm.
since you were talking about it earlier. And I think Blake brings that to the table. Now,
Yeah.
we ain't gone through our wars yet, and
Sure.
we will. And any first time coordinator, I mean, I've done this a couple times now with these first year guys, and I understand that. And we're all gonna have to rally with each other. But you talk about the belief in the players, and he simplified the defense, and these guys are playing with their hair on fire right now.
That's great.
It's
It's a big part of it, right? To be able to simplify that, get guys moving faster, confident in what they do, and you've gotten a great opportunity. Let's kind of finish with this, Coach. You are not afraid of these big games, week one, and prime time, big stages, things that you're going to be faced with, and that's exactly what you have here, traveling to Colorado for this first game. Just what does that do for a program that you're running when you're able to be a standalone game, everybody's watching, and you can go out and get a big victory there? What does that mean for you the rest of the way?
Well, for the players, it puts them on a stage. And at the end of the day, we're performers. Coaches, players, we're performers on a stage. Our stage is a little bigger than others. And, to be under the lights, to go out there and perform and play, high quality opponents. Look, you give me anybody, we'll go play at 5 o'clock tonight in Piedmont Park. I mean, yeah, that's who we want to be. That's who we are. And to play, and now you got all the other things with the rev share components with it, with the viewership and all that matters. But we have a chance to go on national TV, to open the season on a Friday night, play such a really quality opponent. Such an honor, to play a guy like Deion Sanders, coach to coach, a guy we were both hired the same year. I was a huge fan of his growing up. I mean, I was a football and baseball player, and wanted to be him and Bo Jackson. It was those two, the dual sport guys, and I just I'm gonna see if I can take his rookie card out pregame and get him to sign it for me, take a selfie, and I mean it's gonna be cool. It's a great opportunity.
I love it, man. Coach,
That's
this was
awesome.
super fun. Thank you for breaking it all down. We cannot wait to see it. We're big Jacket fans this year, and think you guys are going to have a heck of a year. So thank you so
Say
much
that
for
again.
joining us.
Say that again.
I didn't say the whole thing. I just said the back half. Okay, you're not getting the whole
said
thing.
we're big Jacket fans this year. I'm cutting that. We're gonna put that up.
You can do
All
that.
right. I'm gonna say, we'll off air sidebar. Me and you, we got to get a little something going. How
That's
about
perfect.
that?
That's perfect.